If you've been having a hard time finding your tribe, this is the video that you need. Friendships are the purest form of relationships because real, authentic, quality friendships don't require you to give them anything that is like a sexual transaction or monetary transaction. Real quality friendships are based on how much do I like you? Do we have similar values? Are we working towards sort of a similar direction? Are we motivated about the same things? Authentic values and reciprocity is what friendships are based on. And this is why friendships are the true testament of whether you are good at relationships. Even when you look at family relationships, there's a lot of obligation, and friendships don't have that. In a case where you come from a relatively healthy family, you can practice your relationship skills in that environment. However, most people don't have that kind of family environment where they can be genuinely honest, trusting, and have the opportunity in the space to practice conflict resolution, boundaries, and trust. This is why for most people, friendships are the place to practice your leadership, boundaries, relationship reciprocity, and trust. So if you're lacking friendships, then you need to work on your relationship skills. Hi everyone, it's Julieta. Welcome back to this channel. If you've been struggling in leadership as a business owner or as an organizational leader, we want to boil down and look at how you do your friendships. This is the place where you train yourself to have better boundaries, become better at conflict resolution, and learn to practice healthy decision making in your relationships. We live in this toxic individualized notion that lone wolfing is the norm, and we also see a lot in self-development where people tell you that if they're not on your side, then you should just cut them off and move on. And this perpetuates the loneliness epidemic that we experience today. Certainly, some people are not good for us. And after you have done what you can make the decision to set proper boundaries with that person, to create distance, or to cut them out. But if you look at your life and you see a pattern where you have trouble making and maintaining long-term, authentic, genuine connections in friendships, you in general have trouble with relationships. To a certain point in time, this is a requirement for us to stand alone and to do the lone wolfing. This is especially true if you go through a huge transition where you realize that your life choices have not been authentic until that point. You have an existential crisis, you go through a big separation or a divorce, or you become a parent even, or you have a huge responsibility in an organization, you get a promotion, or you start a business. These are big transitions that we experience where we start to look back in our lives and realize that those choices or who I was is no longer a match to who I am being. That is where you go through this lone wolf journey. But the lone wolf journey cannot continue on forever. Let's say that you get a huge promotion or you start a business, you become successful in that way. But if you don't have good relationships in your life, that is a low quality life, no matter how good the money is. And you will also reflect and see that you struggle in relationships in the workplace. Let's talk about the many reasons why women in general have a real hard time with female friendships. First of all, it's because women are traumatized from patriarchal oppression, and the expectations of what a healthy friendship is not modeled very well in the material that we consume, in the stories that we read, that we hear about. Most women have never seen an example of what a healthy female friendship or having many healthy female friends even look and feel like. These female relationships in our culture, in our families, in our society are run by the patriarchal standards of the expectations towards women, expecting free nurture and comfort, basically replacing the love and the connection that we didn't get from our mothers, which is inappropriate in terms of boundaries. And second, based on patriarchal competitiveness and jealousy. An immature female friendship, it is based on competitiveness of who is better. If you look at your past friendships, there must have been a sense that somebody's trying to outdo you. competing with you in some way, meaning everybody's trying to find a way to be better than the other person. That look at any high school or middle school cliques, and that continues on in the corporate world as well, especially in industries where there are few women. An immature female friendship is using other women to escape their own loneliness, and even creating the sense of significance and importance by one female trying to dominate the other females and creating this sense that she is the queen bee, the rest are her followers or minions. These are examples of immature friendships which typically rule many of the adult relationships in organizations, as well as fully grown women with accomplished degrees and careers in their personal lives. When you come from an upbringing where you were not important, you yourself were treated as a convenience for your family, you were undervalued and undermined, you have the same expectation towards other women, and then which disrespect becomes the foundation of the bond that forms and sustains the typical modern female friendships. This means that you do not read social cues. You create psychological barriers between you and others. Because vulnerability has been so tough for you, you protect yourself to not reveal too much in case these aspects are weaponized against you. But the oppressive trauma can also do the opposite, where you become way too open, where you air out your dirty laundry, where you dump those negative emotions onto female friends because you think that you can do that to them as that has been done to you through your other relationships. When it comes to these types of problems, women generally don't know how to speak up and address the issue. So the collective communication problem of not wanting to rock the boat, the patriarchal standard of women innate drive and desire to please the situation and to avoid conflict, where these friendships are sustaining themselves on a very shaky and unstable foundation. If you do not fulfill the third tier, love and belonging, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you see that the next tier up is having significance and accomplishment, not only having it, but to be able to maintain and to rise higher to reach your highest purpose. So many women make the mistake thinking that they can just be successful in their career and neglect their personal relationship as long as they have one person, typically your intimate partner, to keep them company. But this isn't a happy life at all. This isn't a life of fulfillment, because what you're neglecting here is that it is impossible for you to reach those heights that you want, to fulfill your purpose without leaving survival mode. You cannot thrive while you're in survival mode. When you become truly honest with yourself, which takes a lot of courage and a level of self-esteem to do so, you realize that you have a really hard time owning responsibility. When something goes wrong, you be very quick to point finger at the other person. Well, you didn't tell me this, you didn't communicate this, without realizing how you're creating those psychological barriers and you're acting in a very self-involved way to the point that communication can't even come through nor register even if it was attempted. When you don't feel safe, you create these psychological barriers which block vulnerability, which then blocks real authentic connections. And from that point, there is no safe space to resolve the conflict that needs to be talked about without pointing fingers and blaming at each other. These psychological barriers makes the friendships feel very businesslike, where it's very transactional, which is fine if that particular relationship calls for that kind of relationship. But if every single one of your friendships are that way, that is your problem that you have to look at. In a situation like this, you are likely friending down, meaning you've heard of dating down, where a person feels too insecure that they need to choose somebody who will 100% be so low down that they can't imagine them ever betraying them or cheating on them. Well, friendshipping down is the same concept, where you feel like you need to be the best off or the most accomplished or the wisest and almost like the mother of the group, to feel like you can't be challenged by the success or the competencies of others. which then you end up surrounding yourself with ignorant people, people who do not match your intellectual capacity or your understanding of the world, which then prevents your own growth and your own acceleration in every which way in your life, in your spiritual growth, in your emotional fulfillment, in your career growth as well. Because if you have friends who are accomplished in their arenas, the kinds of insights that can set you off into a direction and to solve certain problems that could potentially take you years and years, that's what friendships that are reciprocal can do for you. That's what surrounding yourself with the right types of people can do for you. But if you are too insecure and you're avoiding triggers in your relationships, you will naturally surround yourself with those who cannot give you that much value. When you're friending down, same as dating down, what you're doing is avoiding your loneliness by distracting yourself, by surrounding yourself with people while you are avoiding the discomfort and the pain of having to look at yourself for emotional and spiritual growth. These are still facts and true for those of you who see yourselves as very nice people. There is a part of you, when you look at your shadow side, the need to be right. And that need to be right is making you a judgmental person who dismisses experiences and perspectives that you can't fully relate to due to your experiences, upbringing, and culture. Now let's talk about solutions. What do you need to do to find your tribe? Finding your tribe requires you to level up emotionally and spiritually, which then it will put you in an abundant state, an abundant mindset, and lead you to have that abundant lifestyle where acceleration and manifestation happens very quickly. So all of this work is tied to the exact work that you need to be doing no matter what kind of success you're looking for in your business, in your career, in your personal relationships. If you're having trouble with toxic leadership or toxic culture or toxic people in your life, this is the work that you need to do. Expand your empathy. Empathy expansion requires you to do your shadow work. It requires you to be radically honest and start taking responsibility for the types of judgments and lies that you've been opting into. It requires you to look at how much you've been conditioned by patriarchy, by racial supremacy and capitalism to have expectations that are unhealthy and judgmental and dismissive towards the types of people who could actually be a great member of your tribe. If you cannot see people for who they really are and meet them where they are, it is impossible for you to foster genuine loving relationships. People can feel your judgment. People can feel that you're trying to be better than them or that you're competing or you're trying to get something from them. Doing your own shadow work is about empathy expansion. It's being able to relate to people's experiences without judging, being able to observe with curiosity, and that creates an open channel when it comes to energy and interaction. And releasing, with that also comes releasing control when it comes to people and relationships. Look at how much risk assessment you're doing to not get hurt all the time. Meaning when you're dating down or you're friending down, that's what you're doing. You are having a risk assessment based on past experiences of observing hurt or being hurt by relationships. When you're making decisions based on hurt and pain, you are choosing a scarcity outcome. When you start to work through those wounds and expand your empathy beyond yourself, your own needs and the self-involvement that often comes with trauma, that withdrawal that comes from trauma. When you're healing that wound and you're expanding, you become much less judgmental. You become very much understanding of people, experiences, and culture, even people coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds without judgment. And that already opens you up to see people for who they are, for their character. Can these people be a part of my elevation journey? Can we have an honest and authentic exchange that add value? Does this person make me a better person, and do I make them a better person? This is the kind of reciprocal exchange that you can have only when you do the shadow work and expand your empathy. That means every notion that we've been conditioned through patriarchy and the toxic expectation of toxic femininity, toxic masculinity, the social economic conditions of judging poor people or judging rich people, or whatever that mental conditioning has been for you, looking at racial supremacy, looking at who's better than you, or assimilating yourself to a certain race or culture to feel superior. If you are putting yourself on that hierarchy, then absolutely you are lower than certain people. And this hierarchical thinking is what gets in the way of you truly opening up authentically and belonging with the people who actually match in their values. If you've been unhappy with the types of relationship and intimacy lovers that you've been attracting, practicing this with friendship is gonna fix all of that too. If you have been having a hard time as a parent, or you've been worried about what kind of parent you become based on your experiences, then this is the exact work that you need to do to make sure that you do not repeat those generational cycles of trauma, loneliness, disconnect that you experience in your own upbringing. If you're having a really hard time as a leader, hiring the right people, training and keeping the right kinds of employees, this is the exact work that you need to do as well. If you treat your employees in a way that is dismissive, or you are using superiority to control them, then absolutely you have people who are disgruntled and they'll leave because they don't like your leadership. The same way that your friends may phase out or stop talking to you, or that when you're challenged you stop talking to people, it's all the same types of patterns are playing out in these work relationships. As a leader, if you have a hard time with your executive presence, commanding and leading your team to meet the best outcome possible, getting them motivated to do the work and to have them respect you, this is the exact work that you need to do as well. Doing this work will also get you out of your dark night of the soul and your existential crisis. Doing this work will absolutely take care of every area of your life. It will not only take care of your finances, because your network is your net worth. The quality of people around you translate directly to your wealth. It will also create a fulfilling, happy legacy. Friends first, partner second, intimate partner second. Because friendships are the purest form of relationships. Whereas an intimate partner, there's a sexual exchange. And oftentimes when you're cohabitating, there's a financial exchange. Friendships don't have any of that, and it is the purest form of a relationship. The third aspect is that when you do this work, we solve the biggest human issue, which is spiritual and emotional growth. And no matter how much you achieve, the truth is that humans find a way to be miserable. When you have quality people, it doesn't matter where you are in your growth journey or in your wealth growth journey, you find happiness. It is all about the people around you. That's what happiness is. Learning how to be happy is the task that every single human on this earth is given. The moment we're born, we are in an existential realm. The reason why we're here is learning how to be happy, and money is an equation of that. Our conditioning is part of that. We have to find who we really are and connect with those who align and join forces to make our light and their light brighter, to create a better future for our humanity. Thank you so much for watching. It's Julia Chan. See you in my next video.